Good evening and welcome to the Lordsburg School Board's special meeting of May 24th, 2021. Please note only the items on the agenda will be discussed. And if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiances. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Okay, may I get a motion to approve the agenda for the special meeting of May 24th as written?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morelos. May I get a second?
I'll second that motion, Susie.
Thank you, Mrs. Esquivel. Roll call, Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Next item is action items. Item A is discussion approval of the 2021-2022 school budget. Brian, we'll go ahead and turn that over to you and Eric.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Hello.
Good to hear. Well, I'll be presenting today's budget for you guys today. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oh, I can. Okay, can everyone see? Okay. So first of all, before I get started, I want to thank everyone for jumping on today for the second meeting of the month. And I want to give a huge shout out to Rosa and to Ryan for helping with this budget. Honestly, I couldn't have done it without them. There was a couple of days where I think Rosa and I stayed on a Zoom call all night until almost, I think, 10 o'clock at night, working on the salaries for this budget. So I just want to give a huge shout out, and I couldn't have done it without them. So thank you very much. Let me go. I'm sorry. Okay. So on today's agenda, we're going to go through some of the budget highlights, the budget summary, and revenue analysis, and we're going to finish off with the expenditure analysis. To start off with some of the highlights, we have about a $41,000 level 1 teacher minimum, a $50,000 level 2 teacher minimum, and a $60,000 level 3 teacher minimum. And we are above all these three levels, so we are matching these. We're actually exceeding them a little bit more. And there's a couple of state mandates. There is a 5.16% SEG unit value increase when calculating SEG. We have a 1.5% increase for all teachers and staff. We have a decrease around 0.09% in the at-risk index. We also have a 6% increase in medical insurance for the high options, and it's around 3.6% for the low options. And we do also have an employer increase of 1% when it comes to Education Retirement Board, and that's just for the retirements for all of our employees. Some school-specific highlights. We have around a decrease around $9,372 from SEG, or 0.18%. We do have an increase, which we're able to carry over around $500,000 of our SR2 revenue into this year. And we also have an increase in SEG due to the implementation of HB 6, which removes a 75% credit, which is included within that $9,000 decrease. So this did help a bit. I also wanted to let you guys know that we did get new revenue funding from, it's called the Federal Income Index Act. It provides a new funding for school districts with the highest FII, or aggregated measure of household income. And this is calculated by using like tax returns, family support, and census data provided every year. And Lordsburg is receiving an additional $79,116 in this funding this year. Okay, now we're gonna do a budget summary. So our total initial budget for fiscal year 2022 is $10,912,111. So we have it broken out into 5 subcategories. We have the general fund, which includes operational, transportation, athletics, which gives us a total around 6.2 million. Special revenue is including for food services, federal flow through, state, local flow through, totaling around 2.14 million. Capitals 131,000 and 427,000 for SB9, giving us a total of 558,000. And debt services 1.8 million, and then our activity funds is around 169,000, giving us that total initial budget. And we didn't have to use any cash carryover for this, so that is a benefit, and we were able to budget around 4% of our SEG for our reserves for this fiscal year as well. Now I'll go into the revenue. Excuse me one moment. So our projected revenue for FY 2022, most of it is for coming out of our SEG, so our state out-of-state tuition and our ad valorem tax amount. So it's around 61% is our operational, 4% is coming from transportation, 11% federal, 4% food services, 3% capital, 8% debt, and 9% is going to come from other. Now we're going to break this down a little bit more. So from our general funds, we can see here that we did get an increase of around like 37,000 from last year, and this is about an increase from 0.57%. And then from here, our special revenue funds, we have an increase around 650,000, and this is mainly due to the fact that we have the ESSER 2 funds that came out earlier this year, which is about 59% more than what we had last year, and then our SB local amounts as well as our debt services. Do keep in mind though, not all of these, some of these are projected as we didn't have the numbers quite yet, so we just budgeted what we had for last year, and when the numbers do come out, we'll go ahead and update you guys with those numbers. And so overall, this is about an increase of around 700,000 or 8.9% in revenue. Okay, so I'm sure you guys remember this sheet. This is the document that Ryan was going with you guys last meeting, and some of you have seen it twice. So, I won't go through it. I won't go into too much detail regarding this one here, but I do want to say, so we could see here, this is based off our SEG amount here. So in total for 2021, 2022, we're getting around 534 million, or 5.34 million, excuse me. And there's around a decrease of $9,374, or a decrease in the 18%, or that 0.18%. You can see here though, we don't have that 75% because of the credit anymore because of that HB6 that passed earlier today, or earlier this year. I think it was in April. And the main decreases are due to decreases in student membership, decreases in both district size and at risk, and the discontinuation of the K5 Plus program. But the increases are pretty good too. We do have the kindergarten membership increasing, the higher ancillary FTE, and the increases to both school size and rural population. Okay, so now we're going to go into the expenditures. So we're going to break our expenditures out a couple of different ways. We're going to go by function, and then we're also going to go by object, which is more of the details on specific what we're going to do with those items, and function is more so of kind of where it's going to go, instruction, classroom, etc., things like that. So this is based off of our operational expenditures only though, for this one. The rest will be, the next slide will be for the entire budget, but 53% of our operational is going into instruction. 8% is going to be in the classroom support. 16% is administration. 8% in essential services, and 15% is going to building and plant. Excuse me, one moment. Okay, so this is where we're seeing like for all funds and what we did last year. So the lighter side here is going to be FY 2021, and then the darker side is going to be for FY 2022. Well, so this is based on what we're estimating is going to be for the end of the year, and this is what we're going to be we're budgeting for this current year. And we do have to include our estimated cash carryover for operational is around $138,907. And PED does require that public schools do include their estimated cash carryover amounts within their budgets. And once the fiscal year closes and the independent audit is complete, the district will adjust any kind of estimated cash carryover that was budgeted to the actual cash as of June 30th. And for Lordsburg, we are actually anticipating the following carryovers. So operational, we're carrying over $138,907, like I mentioned earlier. Food service is around $1,200. Activities is around $170. Medicaid is $153,000. And we have direct grants of $115,000, almost $116,000. Bond building and SB9 are carrying over $131,000, and debt services is $1.04 million. The ESSER 2 funds have also allowed the school a lot more flexibility with our budgets, and we're able to, build an infrastructure like, technology, anything like that. And we're able to pay a lot of our staff out of this ESSER 2 money and able to really help our operational budget, and we're able to balance because of it. And we were actually able to walk out the other side with a good chunk of it left. So now I'm going to go into expenditures by object. So this shows expenditures by object. This is also by operational funds only. So based off of our operational funds, 73% of that is coming from compensation and benefits. 7% is contract services, 4% supplies, 6% property and debt services, and excuse me, this is supposed to say other. 10% is other. And this is kind of what we're going to be expecting for expenditures by object for our all funds. And well, again, it's FY 2021 is lighter, and FY 2022 is darker. So you can see here, we did kind of increase a little bit with compensation and benefits, contract services, supplies, property and debt services, and other did decrease by a little bit. And this does include the compensation and benefits. It's a little bit higher because it does include that 1.5%. And then property and debt services do increase a bit too because of the operational HB33 and SB9 funding balances that are being budgeted into like a property object code. And for the most part, all the other projected expenditures are remaining similar to FY 2021. Our next portion are going to be personnel costs. So we did have a decrease in our FTE. Last year, which was around, so right now our FTE or our full-time equivalency is around 84.85 FTE, or which is around 4.5 FTE less than what we had last year. But you can see here for instructional, we have a total around 3.27 million. Our student support services is totaling around 606. This is including benefits and the salary. School admin is around 983,000, and our other is around 481,000, giving us that $5,098,901 that we're budgeting for our personnel costs. And then these are additional stipends as well that are added on for the fiscal year, and it's going to total around $238,888. And then this does include a couple of the increases in the level increases and salary and education increases as well. And I do want to say congratulations to them. That's pretty awesome. It's not easy to do that, especially working a full-time job and as a teacher, or in a school in general and going to school full-time. I don't know how you guys could do it. I had to do one and then the other. So a couple of other expenditures, and that are non-personnel and non-carryover. We have 7% of our non-personnel expenditures are going to be budgeted into supplies. We have around 19% of non-personnel expenditures that are going to be budgeted into building costs and professional development and travel. And around 26% of our non-personnel expenditures are budgeted into contract services. So this includes kind of like ancillary services, food services, transportation, advertising, business management, IT services, legal, all that good stuff. So that's around 26% of our budget. Then this unit right here, the building cost does include a lot of like the utilities and et cetera, things like that as well. And then a professional development and travel. And some other expenditures for non-personnel, we have around software and supplies around 500,000 budgeted. We have library supplies of $20,598. Contracted services, like I mentioned before, is at 1.438 million. And dues and memberships is around 8,000. Repairs, maintenance, and utilities around 245. We do have Medicaid reserves of 25,000, and we have our operational reserves of our 200,000 here. And we were able to save around $33,911 of ESSER 2 money, which we do have reserved for supply assets under 5,000, but this can really be pushed open into more. And I think it's awesome that we're able to bring back this much here and go for next year. Professional development is around 30,000. Instructional materials, we have around 64,000. And then our liability insurance is around $197,390. But I kind of zoomed through that a little bit, but that was essentially our budget for 2022. Definitely a lot faster to talk about it than is to bring it up and structure it all, right? But with that said, does anyone have any questions or comments?
No,
You did a
just
good
thank
job,
you.
Eric.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you guys.
you did a great job presenting, and thank you to you and Brian for all your work that you put into this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been an honor. It's been a lot of fun, I know budgets, they it's surprising how fun it can be once you really get the hang of it, and it's really cool learning everything within the school by the staff and being able to work with Rosa and Ryan and Barb, and Dr. Lucas, and being able to just go step by step. It's really, it's really an honor to be able to work with you guys and to structure this budget for you guys to, we really want the school to succeed and to have it just be as carefree as easy as possible going into next year.
And I will say Eric really did the majority of the work on this, and I kind of just oversaw and tried to help where I could. But even with that, I will say this is probably the most comfortable I feel like the budget is, because Eric, being the first time doing budgets, really dug in deep and took the time to sit with Ryan to go over his transportation budget, to sit with Rosa. And I feel like a lot of things that even me as the business manager have wanted to kind of get to and really clean up and really nail down, Eric really put in that time to really get things more dialed in. So, I mean, honestly, I feel the most comfortable and accurate with this budget than even when I did it in the prior year. He really dug in and really, tried to make things as accurate as possible. to where I feel real confident that everyone has a good idea of their budgets and how much they can spend. And so, I do want to thank him for that. He really did most of the work putting this together, and I kind of just helped when he needed help. And so, good job. And then again, what he said, I do want to thank Rosa and Ryan. It's a group effort, and Dr. Lucas. I mean, these things take a lot of work, and with 60-day sessions, a lot of things come very quickly, and it's always a quick turnaround. And so tomorrow, assuming everyone is okay with the budget and it gets approved, it will be uploaded to PED, and then we'll begin the process. As Eric mentioned, some of the federal funds we have not received the allocations for. They kind of trickle in every day, and so as they come in, we'll have to basically make sure that those budgets line up with our estimates. And so there still might be a little tweaking here and there. We might get more money in sped than what we budgeted. We might get less, and at that point, it's just a matter of making things line up to the revenues that we have. And so the budget shouldn't change too much from here. It's just a matter of getting those Fed funds with the right revenue numbers as they send them out. And so thank you to everybody.
Brian, this is Edgar. I did have a question. Based on our last meeting, some of the stuff that we reviewed with you, on some of the priorities that the board thought, that were needed, were some of those things taken into consideration?
And so
those line items.
Yeah, so those ESSER funds that Eric mentioned, I think are really flexible in what we could use, and we were able to basically hold as much of that as possible to carry into next year. And then Eric kind of mentioned how we had the 130,000 in SB9, the carryover. So typically what we'll do in those circumstances, given the input from the board. So for example, one of the things that was mentioned was the painting of RBT. So what we typically do from a budget standpoint is we'll budget that into a line item, say construction services or other contract services within the SB9 fund. And it won't be really until we obtain the quotes or actually decide to move forward with something like that, given any other plans or projects, that we'll put in a formal bar at one of the board meetings to actually true that up to what it would actually cost. But the money is in there and it's budgeted to those lines. And so, it's just a matter of deciding if we want to use the SB9 or ESSER if we could, or reallocate to basically do some of those projects. But we did keep those in mind, and we did try to put them into line items, specifically in capital outlay, to try to set money aside for those types of items. And if we do decide to proceed with that and get quotes and see what it would actually cost, then we could really reevaluate those types of projects and if we want to move forward with them.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Brian, how much money was set aside for that again?
Well, so basically every year we get so much money in our SB9 that normally comes from tax collections. But in addition to that, we're basically going into fiscal year 22. And Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about 130,000 cash carryover that we have that kind of rolls into FY22 in addition to what we normally receive. So, that could be used for that. There's other ways too that we could move funds around, but basically I would assume something, and I keep focusing on the RBT painting, but typically those types of projects that we discussed would come out of the capital outlay funds.
Thank you, Brian.
Sure.
Are there any other questions or comments regarding the 2021-2022 school budget? If there are no other questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the 2021-2022 school budget as presented.
I'll make the motion, Ms. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. May I get a second?
I'll second it, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morelos. Roll call. Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera.
Aye.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Next item on the agenda is discussion and approval of the 2021-22 bus contractors contract. Dr. Lucas?
Yes, ma'am. We do this every year. And it's standard contract. You should have gotten it in an email. Ryan, are you on? Ryan?
Oh, me or Ryan?
No, Ryan?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay. You want to go over a little bit on the bus contractor's contract?
Sure. Basically, it's the same contract as last year. What we did is gave the 1.5 increase on the salaries. And we also gave an increase for aides to ride in the morning on every single bus route. So there's about a 20K increase in the contract for this school year from last year to accommodate those additional expenses. Other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions on that?
I think with all the kids returning to school next year and the whole COVID precautions we need to take, I think that was a good move on your guys' end to add that additional help on the routes.
I agree, and it seems to be working really well with the aides on there right now.
Yes. Yes, it does.
I'll go ahead and make a motion, Ms. Cole, to approve the bus contract for this upcoming year.
Okay, I've got a second to approve the 2021-2022 bus contract by Mr. Gomez. May I get a second?
I'll second that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morelos. Roll call, Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Next item on the agenda is approval of blanket bar approval through June 30th, 2021.
Yes.
Go ahead, Dr.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
We've done this before, and it is just so we're approaching the end of the year and our books have to be closed by June 30th. So this would be an approval for any of the bars, and then we'd bring them to you in July. So the business manager, myself, would sign off on them and then bring them to you in July instead of beforehand. So that way we can clear out the books at the end of June.
And will you do like you did the last time where you kind of gave us an idea of which ones were coming
Right,
through?
and we'd send you an email letting you know what's coming through, with each one. But they would all be present. Like we'll have the June 21st board meeting. So if any bars are ready, then we'd want to do that. But then we wouldn't have another one till the third week of July. So we would, we need to be able to take care of those without having special meetings.
Okay. Is there any questions regarding the blanket bar approval through June 30th of 2021? If there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the blanket bar approval through June 30th of 2021.
I so move, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Morelos. May I get a second?
I'll second that motion. Ms.
Thank you,
Cole.
Ms. Esquivel. Roll call, Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera,
Aye.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Next item is approval of IDEA-B application. Dr. Lucas?
Right, this is one of our federal grants we get every year, and it's for IDEA-B, for our special education program from the feds. We're getting about 185,000 from the feds for our regular IDEA and about 36,000 for pre-K. All of it except for about $7,000 is going towards salary of some sort. We spread it out between all our special ed teachers, IAs, school psychologist rather, diagnostician, any of the special ed people, some of their salaries paid out of this fund. And then the other 7,000 is for supplies or materials. And that's really all it is. But I do need, this is one of the feds that I need a board signature on. And as I get them approved, I'll submit. I mean, we're just now in the process of starting to submit. This one is due Friday to PED.
Okay. Is there any questions regarding the IDEA-B application? If there's no questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the IDEA-B application.
I'll make the motion, Ms. Cole.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. May I get a second?
I'll second that motion, Susie.
Thank you, Mrs. Esquivel. Roll call, Mrs. Esquivel,
Aye.
Mr. Barrera.
Aye.
Mr. Morelos,
Aye.
Mr. Gomez,
Aye.
and myself, aye. With all business of the Lordsburg School Board special meeting having been concluded, this meeting is adjourned at 6:31 p.m.